It's bare root season, and today we are going to plant some bare root strawberries. So what is a bare root exactly? Well, bare roots can be trees or bushes or even berries like these strawberries. But basically, it's a plant that's grown to a certain age of maturity, and then it's dug up and the roots are loosened from the soil and the soil's washed away, and they're sold basically in a dormant state while their roots are loose and free of soil so that you can plant them. And as they wake up from dormancy, they're going to take root in your soil and continue growing. It's a great way to get super mature plants and kind of cut out some of that time that it takes when you're growing from a much younger plant by being able to establish them once they're older. Now, there's a certain time of year though that you can do this. So that's why you usually only see bare roots in the store or in the nursery or your seed catalogs during a certain time of year, which is early spring generally. There are some that are usually available in the fall. However, early spring is really the time to get your bare roots. You really want to be able to get your bare root plants in the ground while it's still chilly, while they're still dormant, and then you want them to be able to start waking up as your soil is warming in the spring, and they're not even going to know that you moved them to a new place. And check out the root system on these strawberries. So let's get these in the ground. I have a whole bunch. We're going to put it out in our perennial plant area that we're developing. Let's get them planted. So the first thing to know is if you purchase your bare root plants and you're not able to get them in the ground right away, you're going to want to go ahead and cover them. So that even applies to these. You'll want to at least put them in a bucket with some mulch over them or some loosely packed soil just to keep those roots protected. I just pulled these out from this bed back here where I've been keeping all of our bare roots until we're able to plant them. So I've got them in this planter bed kind of dug in loosely into the garden soil, and then I covered them over with some mulch. So I just pulled these out and we're ready to get planting. Planting your bare root strawberries is actually incredibly easy. All you need is a prepared bed space, a trowel, and a bucket of water. I like to plant mine in my perennial areas, and I use them actually as a ground cover. Strawberries are evergreen, which is great, and they're super low growing. So they help protect the soil and kind of shade it and give it a coverage that's also super productive because we get berries. So they're really low growing, but they will send off runners, which are basically baby plants throughout the years. So if you start a strawberry patch, chances are you'll have strawberries for a long time to come because they'll send off those runners or baby plants. What's great about that is you'll always have plenty to either move to other places, you can pot them up, you can share them, you can sell them, whatever you want to do with them. Now, you can also plant yours in a prepared garden bed, but because of what I just mentioned, how they like to really spread out and send out those runners, I prefer to just use them as ground cover in my perennial areas. And so that's what we're going to be doing today, is planting them in this prepared perennial bed. You can see more about how I prepared these beds in my video about sheet mulching, which I'll include right up here. But this bed is primarily just compost. This is all compost that's just broken down over the years. So it's going to be really rich and really fertile, which is perfect for our strawberries. So you'll definitely want to add some compost or some amendments, some worm castings, things like that to make sure that your bed is really fertile and has a lot of nutrition for your strawberries. You'll also want to make sure that the soil in your planting bed is nice and loose and that's not super compacted so that these roots can really dig in and grab hold. So the first thing that we need to do before we start planting our strawberries is actually to take them out of their bundles. And we're going to kind of separate them out. So you can see there's quite a few in here. And then we're going to set them in a bucket of water. So this is to rehydrate the roots. So this is just a bucket of water. It's got some rainwater in it. And we're just going to dump them in. That's all it takes. So we're going to put all of our strawberries in there. I'm mixing all these varieties together, so I don't really need to keep track. If you are keeping track, obviously you'll want to soak and plant them separately if you have multiple varieties. We're just going to loosen them all up and let them take a little swim for about 5 to 10 minutes. We just want to rehydrate those roots in case they've dried out at all before we plant them in the ground. Planting your bare root strawberries is incredibly easy. It's actually just as easy as digging a hole and placing it in. But there is one really important thing that you need to know, and that is, where is the crown? So strawberries have what's called a crown, and it's basically this part of the plant that extends up and it branches out, and that's kind of where you see the green leaves coming off of it, but it's almost like, you can think of it as an extension of the root almost. It's the base of the plant. And so the roots come down off of it, and we never want to bury the crown. The strawberry can develop what's called crown rot, and that's one of the biggest issues with strawberries. So we never want to bury it too deep. So you can find where your crown is, trace it down, and that's the level that you want to bury your strawberry to. So we only want the roots in the ground, not the crown. Let's get this one put in the ground. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our trowel and we're going to simply dig a hole for it. Again, it's nice if your soil is already nice loose. You don't want super compacted. We want them to be able to have some nice fluffy ground where they can kind of take hold and make their own space. So I kind of separate out the roots like this, place them into the hole that I've dug. It helps sometimes to kind of pull back the soil and kind of get those roots all so that they're pointing down. And kind of tuck them in like that, and then just pull the soil around it. And then if I always double check it to make sure that the crown isn't buried, and if it is, I just give it a little tug just to make sure that it's not buried too deeply. And it's that simple. I'll show you a close-up here of doing my second one. All right, so we're going to dig our hole. Just pull back everything and make that nice hole. Here we go. Now it's time to locate where the crown is. The crown ends right about here. So let's fluff up those roots a little bit, spread them all out, set it nicely into that hole, and then we backfill around it. Again, I like to give it a little tug just to make sure it hasn't gotten buried too deep. We can still see the crown poking out right here. So that's perfect. There we go. So it's that easy to plant your bare root strawberries. If you're looking to buy some strawberries, I would highly recommend starting out bare roots. Again, look at that root structure. You get a super mature plant that's going to perform really well. And really the only catch is that you gotta plant them at the right time of year and don't bury that crown. So I hope this was helpful for you. I'm gonna get busy. I've got a bunch of these to plant. So I'll see you guys next time.